Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs down button please, or the thumbs up, whichever you prefer. Just do something. It's free. Today we're working on a customer's chainsaw. It is a Poulan Pro model 42cc or model PP4218AV I'm not a big fan of the lesser expensive equipment like this. Their lawnmowers are great, riding mowers are great, but I'm not a fan of their weed eaters, chainsaws, blowers, that kind of thing. But hey, it is what it is. It's not mine. It's for a customer. And the customer tells me that it won't run. It's on, that's stop. That would be the choke. I have no idea why. I think she said something about leaking gas. So let's find out, because it's got no gas in it. So let's put a little bit of gas in there and see what we can see. I've had a freaking song from Mary Poppins stuck in my head all day. I watched the Dick Van Dyke interview last night. He's 95. Oh, whoa, 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 hey, oh, whoa, whoa. Don't overfill it. See, you're talking. You guys didn't tell me I was putting too much gas in there. Come on now. It's alright. I don't mind getting the shop dirty. Everybody else worries about every little thing. I ain't worried about that. I'm in an old shop in the garage in the backyard. First, let's see if the fuel lines work by pumping the primer. I'm getting nothing. The primer should be full by now. Slow down a little. See what happens. Now, I don't know if you can see that on camera. We are leaking a little bit of fuel. That could be from what I spilled when I was filling it. But we're getting nothing. Nothing. So let's take the gas back out of it. No need to waste good gas. Don't forget your chainsaws are a gas oil mix. In this case, I always use 50 to 1. But I'm not running this thing, working it, and that kind of thing. At best, I'm putting it in to get it running, to test it for a little bit, and a little bit of extra oil. It's not going to hurt anything. The reason I hate working on chainsaws is because you got to take the whole friggin' thing apart just to look at fuel lines and stuff. And my guess is that the fuel line probably went bad or came off. We'll see. This thing's still recording. I'm going to be editing this here video so that it's not too long. But it's not a whole lot I can do. If you don't want to watch it, go away. But we need to find out first if our fuel lines are connected or broken. That's what often happens with chainsaws and weed eaters. Fuel lines get old, they crack, they break. And often a piece of power equipment will just stop working and you will end up having to go to a repair shop and spend a ton of money over $1 worth of fuel line. I don't know if that screw has, no, that screw doesn't have to come out. Okay, great. So I probably just screwed up the carburetor. That's all right. We'll fix it after. In the meantime, let's zip a few things out here. Make sure we're going the right way. There's one. Always check your screws when you take them out. This is a star bit, obviously. But you always want to put them next to each other as you take them out. Because oftentimes in these small machines, you'll get 2 or 3 screws that are exactly the same size. And then one that'll be different. And when you go to put it back together, you'll end up being a little bit lost. My little magnet. In this case, all these screws are exactly the same. I have no idea how long this thing will record before it shuts off, so I gotta keep checking on it. Alright, and now your whole coil will come off. A recoil system. Now, as you can see, we still can't get to anything. There's our primer bulb. This is our fuel tank. And we still got to take more crap apart. That's why I hate working on these. And if you wonder why, when you take the chainsaw to a repair shop, the bill is a minimum of $100, it's because they spend hours just taking this crap apart. And that won't even fit in there. It takes hours to get this stuff apart, to get to something really stupid and simple, like some fuel lines. Because they got to put enough plastic on here to send the space shuttle. And of course, you can't get to anything, because in this case, my star drives won't reach. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll be back. Okay. I have not gotten my star drives in screwdriver form. The reason is because I don't have $80 for a good set, and the Harbor Freight garbage breaks on 2 screws. The metal's just too soft, and the heads are just torn up, and I'm not spending $20 on something that'll work once. And I have this nice set right here. Those are all star bits. And then I have the set that came with my Husky set, which is my carry to the jobs house call set. And they have been working fine for me actually for 2 years. They fit in here, and it's always good until you come upon a chainsaw or a weed eater with some kind of sunken screws. So in this case, I had to use my special screwdriver that I ground the sides down on to get those 2 screws out. Now they're still in the casing, but we are free. And I'll put them back in the same way. Sometimes you just gotta go to the store and buy something. That was just me putting the brake on. In order to make something work, in this case, I was about 2 seconds from going to the store. I don't want to lose those screws, but they seem to stay in place. So we're going to leave those in place. I was about 2 seconds from going to the store. Going up to Lowe's, not Harbor Freight for that garbage for $18. And spending $80 on a decent set. In the very least, I should have a set of star drives like this in hex form. Problem is, all the stores sell stupid hex keys, which I use once or twice a year on small engines. And you can't find the star ones. That's what I want. I want a set of stars, long stars like this, not hex. And I can't find them. I don't understand why, but whatever. Okay. So that is our air filter case. I know you really can't see a lot. But that's our air filter plastic case. Make sure you can still see the machine. And what I'm trying to get to here are the fuel lines. And because every machine is different, you never know how far you're going to have to go just to get to a freaking fuel line. It's the stupidest thing in the world. They make these damn things so difficult to get to. And I understand why they do it. They consider all this stuff disposable these days. It's all disposable. Most of these machines, the cheaper ones, you can't even get parts for. They don't sell them. Now here, what I'm looking at is this star drive and these two nuts should take that housing off. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. Because again, you got to take a whole damn machine apart to get to a fuel line in these crap things. And I normally don't work on chainsaws or weed eaters. There's a bunch of them people bring hoping it's a quick fix. And it never is. There's 3 of them sitting right there. There's one of them over there in the corner. There's a blower up there. There's a blower. There's a couple of blowers in there. There's a blower. You know, they don't make parts for these things. And they're not worth fixing. So they'll bring them to me hoping it's something simple. And when they find out it's not, they just go, well, can you use it for parts? And that's, you know, nice of them, because what I basically do is I set them out in a pile, and every couple of months when I've got 10 or 15 machines, there it is. When I have 10 or 15 machines, I put an ad up on Craigslist or OfferUp or whatever, and I just sell them for $10 a pop to other repair people that want to do it. I mean, I have a regular guy. He comes. He's a Mexican guy. He's a real nice guy. He doesn't speak a lot of English, but he brings his son. And he usually shows up and buys everything I have. And that's what he does. You know, he sits at home, I guess, and tinkers with them and buys parts from Amazon, from China, or whatever the case may be. And that's what he does. And more power to him. I do the same thing with lawnmowers, riding mowers, commercial mowers, motorcycles. I just don't mess with this little tiny crap. Now what I'm trying to do is get this thing off without having anything fall off. We got our electric kill switches here. I just don't want anything to fall off until I see it and see how it goes on. And of course, our throttle cable is connected here at the bottom. Our throttle cable is connected on this side, right there. So I got to get that off in order to swing this housing out of the way. And it almost looks already, I think I just spotted, that it is just a fuel line problem. Yeah, fuel line is broke right there. I'll show you guys in a second. Let's see about getting this stupid thing off. Here we go. Throttle works just like it does on any other machine. It's got a Z bend on it. No big deal. Now we don't want to lose our choke. That goes in. Let's see if I can show you here. This is our choke lever, and it's got a Z bend on the end of the plastic, which that's a really crappy, cheap design. One of those things breaks so quick. And that goes right here on the side of the carburetor. Now we can move this out of the way and see how the rest of the stuff comes off. That's one reason I like to video, because I always know where it came from. So I'm not going to take that stuff off. I don't want to take these wires off if I don't have to. Since I'm not trying to clean the carburetor at the moment, I'm hopeful. Ah, crap. Well, I just popped that off. I don't know if that's broken or if that's made that way. I don't know if you can see that, but it might be broken. We're going to have to figure that out. There's a spring on there. Don't lose the spring. Alright, let's see what else comes off of here. That's our throttle. Well, this should just be air. Yeah, it's just sitting on there. Okay. So let's see. Oop, it popped off. Sure, see where that popped off. Everything is so tiny, you can't see where anything goes. And I absolutely hate working on these crappy things. You go out and spend $100 or $200 to get one. And then something like a broken fuel line. I mean, here it is right here. There's the fuel line in my fingers. I don't know yet if that's a return. I don't know if it's all part of the vacuum system. See this one attached to the primer bulb. And then I see that hose right there. That's the primer bulb in front of my finger. And that hose right there goes right into the tank. Right there. And the one that just popped off goes on the primer bulb somewhere else. It just popped off. It didn't break, it popped off. So it looks to me like the primer bulb should have been doing its job, and it also looks to me like I'm going to have to take this freaking cover and get it out of the way. Without breaking anything. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. They got to have two wires on one side and your throttle cable on the other, none of which have a quick release. So let me figure out how to get that off. I'll be back. Okay. I ended up having to take this wire off so that I had more space to move this out of the way. Here's my carburetor. Now our first problem was that we were not getting any fuel into the primer bulb. So I pushed on the primer bulb a couple of times, and the weird thing was fuel was coming out of this hose. This is your return line to the tank down there. So what that told me was that the primer bulb was forcing air into the tank, and it was trying to come out of this second one. So what I ended up doing, and you just need a screwdriver. Let's see if I show you again. What I ended up doing was just taking a screwdriver here. This primer bulb just clips in place. I'll show you here in a second. And what I ended up doing anyway was reversing the hoses on the primer bulb. In this case, there's only two hoses, and they keep wanting to come off pretty easily. It's another reason that I absolutely hate chainsaws. But in this case, there's two hoses on the back of that primer bulb, and they were in the wrong position, which tells me that someone was in here. Because the minute I reversed them, and put them back on and push the primer bulb. The primer bulb is full of fuel. The 2 fuel lines that are in there that I can see at the moment are perfectly fine. They're not worn out, they're not drying out or anything. This return line, however, is pretty hard, and where it actually returns back onto the carburetor, which is here, where it actually returns to the carburetor here, I did not find a little piece of hose still stuck on there. But when I try to put this line on this hose, it don't want to go on. Like the line is too small. There's only 2 spots on the carburetor where a fuel line goes on. And I know for a fact that the other one, there it goes. But the other one was where it was supposed to be, because I took it off of there. It goes on right there. So now I have a feeling, now that that line's back on and those lines have been reversed correctly and we're getting fuel into the bulb, I have a feeling that when I screw all this thing back together, it should run. She said it's not that old. I don't know why someone would have been in there, but I can tell you right now that those lines were backwards. The second I flipped them over, we're good to go. So I'm going to put this thing back together, or at least attempt it. This goes back on here. Oh yeah, we gotta, let me put this back on. I gotta deal with whatever that spring is. And sometimes there's just no dealing with it. It could be that spring and lever that came off was broken, and vibration will do that. And while the carburetor's still fine, it may not run for whatever reason that thing is. So the first thing I got to do now, oh, I think that connected there. No, that's our throttle. So our throttle's going to bring that back and forth. Okay, this was a butterfly. That was our butterfly. So it may be that this carburetor is going to have to be replaced. If that doesn't go back on correctly and stay. I just don't know. I don't know why it came off in the first place. Let's find out. It shouldn't have come off. I mean, clearly it's broken. I can see that. Nothing connects to it. Yeah, it's broken. That's what that split is. It's broken. So when it comes to repair work, sometimes that happens, and it's also a good reason why you should film everything you're doing. Now that it's sort of back where it's supposed to be, hopefully you can see right there that it's broken off and it's cracked. And that is your butterfly valve control, and it just keeps popping off. But that's what that turns. Now, whether we actually need it or not, I don't know, because it didn't connect to anything. Our throttle linkage connects here. We have a plastic cover over here, so you can't get in there and touch anything. There was no wire or anything connected to that. And here's our throttle linkage here. that goes back here on this side, right in that hole. And when everything's put back together and the plastic covers over it, the only thing you can get to here is your on-off and your choke, which remember that goes in over here. So I have no idea why that spring was on that butterfly, but what we're going to have to do is put it all back together and test it out and see if it runs. And it could be something as simple and stupid as that spring that broke off that gives us the reason that we got to spend money on a new carburetor. And that's if Poulan Pro even provides a carburetor. Like I said, most of these cheap brands you can't buy replacement parts for, not from the factory. So the only thing you can do is go on Amazon and find one that claims it fits. And it's a crapshoot. It's a 50-50 whether it actually works or not. 50% of the time they work on what you put them on. And the other 50% of the time you wasted 10, 12, 15 bucks because it doesn't work on the machine you're trying to use it on. When you don't have a choice, 20 bucks for a try, really, and now this thing just wants to get stuck up in there. Didn't go where I wanted it to go, and now it's jammed up in the friggin' body. When you're faced with throwing away a machine that you bought, because it's cheap and it broke, and you can't get parts, and you spent, that's 150 bucks, maybe more for this chainsaw. It's not your fault that broke. Vibration and all just broke it. Nothing you can do about it. When you're faced with throwing a machine away or attempting, I'm just making sure I have everything back on. Oh, I gotta put that choker back on. Taking a chance and spending 20 bucks is not a bad option. It's really not. Because if it works, you're good to go. But if it doesn't, then you're out 20 bucks. And however long it took you to take this thing apart and try to fix it. And that's if you don't take it to somebody else. So it's up to you. All I'm doing is reversing the process. I know I didn't exactly show you where everything is, but working on a chainsaw with a 14-inch bar on my little shop table is not the easiest thing in the world. And if I face the camera the other way, I'm right-handed, so I have to keep the stuff to my right. And if I face the camera the other way with the door open, you guys wouldn't be able to see because of the sun. So it's 6 1/2 dozen of the other. But this video is for the owner anyway. So when they say, why is it costing me so much? I say, watch the video. And I had to edit some stuff out. I edited out, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 minutes of this already. By shutting off the camera and trying to figure out exactly what this model does and why. Now I'm checking my choke. My choke is closing and opening correctly. That's my on-off switch. All I did was take that line off, that wire off, so I just put it back on. Now I can push my primer bulb back in place. It just pushes in and clips in. And now I can hear the fuel going where it's supposed to. And there's no way to test it because I have it apart and I can't pull the cord. So what I'm going to do is finish putting it together. And we're going to give her a few pulls and see if she'll start. It may or may not because this lever's gone. I don't know what it was for. Still, when I look at the underside of this, okay, that just goes in place. I don't see anything in there that's an adjustment, and there's nothing that moves. Nothing along those lines. This thing was just on a spring and stood there, but it doesn't touch anything. Nothing at all. So, you know, it may run without it. But at least we know where it came from. Now, if I put this back on first, I don't think it's in the way. So yeah, if I put this on first, I should be able to stand it up and test it. I don't have to put that top cover back on. It doesn't do anything but keep dirt and dust out. So, yeah, I may take some screws out with my screwdriver, my screw gun, my impact driver. And you'll see me on lawnmowers, riding mowers, commercial mowers. You'll see me actually put stuff back together with it too. I've been doing it long enough that I know how to feather it and stop it before stripping something out. But on these little machines, there ain't no way I'll put anything in with that. Because these little crappy things are made out of plastic. And you will strip them out. So it takes longer having to put stuff back in by hand. But it's the only way not to break it. So let's see what we got here. Stop is in the down position. That's the down position. That's the up position. That's the choke position. Prime it a couple of times. And let's see if it'll pull. Don't really have anything to hold on to, huh? Alright, I'm gonna put it on the floor. Let's see. See if it'll start. It may not. I really don't expect it to, although I'm not sure what that stupid thing was. That's choke, that's all. Down was the stop, right? I'm looking at the top case I took off. Up is on. It says prime 6 times. Now I could have flooded the carburetor having it off. Let's make sure that's up. That's up. This has 2 positions. Let's put it in full choke. Let's prime it. If it's got electricity and it's got spark, it should run. Oh, the brake's still on. Half choke. Okay, I'm gonna. These stupid things get flooded very easily. Taking it off, putting it back on, messing with the primer. It's probably flooded. So I'm going to give it 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and come back to it. Okay, sorry guys, I'm out of breath. This is the lever that came off that connects to the butterfly on the carburetor. This is broken. Okay, you can see that. It's busted right there. And that's why it came off the end. And what I did was let that thing dry out a little bit. Make sure it wasn't flooded. And I went ahead and I got it started. And that lever came off of here, right here. So I twisted that by hand. And that's how I got it started. It's now in the open position. Let's see if it'll start again. And it started and it was at high rev. I turned it down. The idle dropped. And then it shut off. And I couldn't get it started again. So now it's in the open position. I'll choking. Up. You have choke. Does not want to start. So I'm going to put it back in the closed position. Of course, you can't get to it. Now it's closed. Let's see if it'll start now. That's the equivalent of choking it. Okay, and there's your problem. So, I'm out of breath because I hate pulling these things. I can get it to start. Now that the fuel lines are on correctly, and the butterfly valve is in the closed position when it starts, as soon as it does, you can see that it high revs. And as soon as I turn it down by hand, it wants to shut off. So the carburetor needs to be replaced. I will send you this video and I will see if I can even get a replacement carburetor.